Financial Secretary says relaxation of mortgage ratio does not mean change in policy to stabilize property prices. Summer Carnival kicks off by the Wan Chai waterfront. And Vice Premier He Lifeng holds talks with Janet Yellen. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the purpose of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority's relaxed mortgage policy is to make it easier for home buyers. The finance chief stressed that the government is not lifting property stabilizing measures. Timothy Lee has our top story.
Residents made their way to the show flats at Quarry Bay to have a glance at their potential new homes at Wong Chau Kang. Prices per square foot range from $24,000 to $35,000, with the units valued at between $11 and $36 million. In a bid to make it easier for buyers to purchase residential property to live in them, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority on Friday announced an easing on the cap for loan-to-value ratios for residential property. The cap of the loan-to-value ratio increased to 70% for residential properties valued at $15 million or below. Property priced at $30 million or less saw the cap increase to 60%, while the loan cap for real estate valued at or above $30 million remains the same at 50%. Some residents said they believe the government's new measure helps financially. This man said the loan cap relaxation is encouraging for him, adding that he feels less pressure when paying for the down payment. But some property agents in the Eastern District believe that despite the loan cap measure, the housing market remains stale. Having returned from abroad, Financial Secretary Paul Chan noted that residential property prices have dropped about 12% over the past few months, but the turnover reached 90% of the pre-pandemic era. The finance chief stressed that the measure aims to alleviate the financial burden of property buyers, such as lowering the amount for down payments. He emphasized that the government has no intention of lifting property cooling measures. Lawmaker and Commercial Functional Constituency Representative Jeffrey Lam referred to the HKMA measure as a good start, but said that there is an urgent need to make cooling adjustments for the property market. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Department of Justice has filed a judicial review over an earlier ruling that fined Leighton Contractors Asia $40,000. The contractor was found to have violated the building's ordinance in connection with a corner-cutting scandal involving Hong Kong's most expensive railway line, the Sha Tin to Central Rail Link. The construction delay partly contributed to the project ending up more than $20 billion over budget. The government said the police are also not ruling out further prosecution in relation to the shoddy work. The administration will claim damages from Leighton following its agreements with MTR Corporation. The Buildings Department said the case has also been referred to the Contractor Committee for disciplinary proceedings. The Harbour Chill Carnival, organized by the Hong Kong Tourism Board, will be held for 5 weekends from today at the Wan Chai harbourfront. Admission is free and the fair is expected to draw in an audience of more than 100,000.
3, 2, 1!
With Victoria Harbour as a backdrop, the Harbour Chill Carnival officially opened at Wan Chai harbourfront. The opening acts were from the 2 theme parks in Hong Kong, Disneyland and Ocean Park. After dawn, the torch was passed on to local and overseas artists, with cantopop singer Kelly Chan taking to the stage first. Also at the carnival are street performances, extreme sports, as well as a waterfront pyrotechnic edition of a symphony of lights. The carnival will be held for 5 consecutive weekends from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. In June, around 2.75 million visited Hong Kong. Dane Chang, Executive Director of the Hong Kong Tourism Board, said the numbers have returned to 55% of pre-pandemic levels. His optimistic visitor numbers will reach 30 million this year. Veronica Lin reports.
Hong Kong has been gradually returning to normal for almost half a year now. Executive Director of the Hong Kong Tourism Board, Dane Cheng, said he's pleased with the 2.7 million visitors last month. He noted that as the world reopens after the COVID pandemic, the city is faced with insufficient tourism facilities in the initial stage of reopening. But that will be gradually improved, he said, adding that he expects the total visitors to meet, if not exceed, the target. Chung pointed out that usually, tourists in the second half of the year account for around 55% of the total. There should be no problem in reaching 26 million if we already have 13 million visitors in the first half of the year, he explained. Besides, he said, the numbers could even reach 30 million. 80% of tourists are from the mainland. He'll continue to promote the city to short-haul travelers. However, there are still a low number of Japanese and South Korean visitors. Chung believes it's due to the gap in the currency exchange rate. In recent years, there's been a shift from the traditional eat-buy-play traveling experience to an emphasis on culture, art, nature, and concerts. Chung said he would invite media representatives from all corners of the world to experience it for themselves. Chung believes we need to look beyond the numbers and that the most important thing is to tell everyone that Hong Kong is back to normal. While international artists frequented Hong Kong in the past, recently, superstars such as Coldplay and Taylor Swift have skipped the city. Chung hopes that with larger venues to be built in the coming years, more concerts and other international events will be held in the city to further boost tourism. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
The government is planning to expand the residential care services scheme in Guangdong for Hong Kong elderly to other cities in the Greater Bay Area. The scheme, introduced 9 years ago, allows eligible seniors to retire in 2 care homes on the mainland. One facility is in Shenzhen and the other in Zhaoqing. Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun today said private organizations running subsidized care homes in the SAR may be invited to join the cross-border scheme. The Elderly Services Association said the government should allow Hong Kong operators to collaborate with mainland care homes to offer such services. Otherwise, it would take too much time and money to set up such facilities up north for Hong Kong retirees. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen met Vice Premier He Lifeng on the 3rd day of her trip to Beijing. She said the world's 2 biggest economies must compete fairly and communicate closely to avoid misunderstandings. Earlier, Yellen held talks with Chinese officials on the need to work together on achieving climate change goals. Yellen also had lunch with 6 of China's rising female economists. Nasir Karim has more.
The message from U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen expands on the pledges made between President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden in Bali last year. Closer communication, exchanging views, and, most importantly, no decoupling of economies. On her 3rd day in Beijing, Yellen met Vice Premier He Lifeng on the back of data that show the 2 countries' economic relationship is strong, with two-way trade last year hitting $690 billion, despite tariffs on certain goods. She said healthy economic competition does not mean a winner-take-all scenario, but a fair set of rules that benefits both sides. Touching on sources of economic tension between the 2 countries, Yellen said targeted action to protect national security should not lead to misunderstandings from a lack of communication. Earlier, Yellen held talks with Chinese officials on the need for both sides to work together on climate change.
Climate change is on the top of the list of global challenges, and the United States and China must work together to address this existential threat. As the world's 2 largest emitters of greenhouse gases and the largest investors in renewable energy, we have both a joint responsibility and ability to lead the way.
According to Morningstar, China is the largest market after Europe for climate funds, surpassing the U.S. with a doubling of value since 2021 to $46 billion. Yellen's visit represents further efforts to ease tensions between the 2 countries. Last month, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met President Xi in the highest-level U.S. visit to Beijing in 5 years. On Friday, Yellen met Premier Li Qiang at the Great Hall of the People. Yellen is the first woman to lead the U.S. Treasury and is a respected economist. Today, she met 6 female economists wanting to learn more about Chinese women in the field and to shine a spotlight on gender diversity within the sector on the mainland. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
Crowds gathered in Japan and South Korea to protest Tokyo's plan to release radioactive water into the ocean. The procedure is backed by the UN nuclear agency, IAEA. The water to be released is from the Fukushima nuclear plant that was destroyed by the 2011 tsunami. Japan's nuclear regulator has greenlighted the move to release the water into the ocean, prompting protests in Tokyo where people gathered outside the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi was in South Korea to meet officials in a bid to calm fears. His arrival in Seoul was also met by protesters hoping to stop the plan. Still ahead, hottest weather ever hitting planet Earth. And a fashion show aiming to make a difference. If you think it's hot in Hong Kong, it's hot everywhere. Earth's average temperature set a new unofficial record high on Thursday, the third such milestone in a week that already rated as the hottest on record. In the United States, Americans have been feeling the heat. NBC with a story.
With cars caught in floodwaters near the nation's capital, mudslides in Vermont, and overnight hail roughly as big as baseballs crashing down in Colorado, tonight a wild weather week isn't over, though some Americans are getting relief. Extreme heat threatening 20 million people across the U.S. That's down from Thursday's 24 million, but still dangerous for many, with parts of Florida and the Southwest most at risk.
Yeah, unfortunately, no relief in sight for us with the way things are stacking up so far.
Phoenix topping 110 degrees for the 7th day in a row. El Paso now recording triple-digit temps every day for more than 3 weeks straight.
Buddy, hey, can you hear me, man?
And newly released video from outside Tucson shows what officials say are 2 Americans suffering from heat stress being rescued by helicopter. Sweltering heat impacting the U.S. and the world. Over the past 4 days, we've seen a new estimated record for the hottest global average temperature set, shattered, and broken again. Meanwhile, across the plains, severe weather's threatening 8 million people from Denver to Little Rock, Arkansas. 2-inch hail, 75-mile-per-hour winds, and isolated tornadoes possible. And further east, flood risks continue from northern New England down to Washington, D.C.
Other cities like Chicago are finally cooling down, but the threat of extreme heat and storms will continue to rock some parts of the country for days to come, especially on Sunday, with 46 million people possibly seeing severe weather from the Gulf Coast to the Mid-Atlantic.
Back locally, an accident at Cheung Kwan O Hospital resulted in a maintenance worker losing his forearm after an inspection went wrong. At around 1 this afternoon, during an escalator inspection process by a maintenance contractor at the hospital, the staircases suddenly began moving. One 50-year-old worker lost his right forearm during the incident. His co-workers deactivated the escalator before rushing the injured man to the emergency ward, where hospital staff immediately performed surgery. A non-profit organization has rolled out a program dedicated to equipping ethnic minority teenagers in Hong Kong with more life skills and confidence through fashion. Take a listen to how the program inspired these young people. This is a fashion show aiming to make a difference. A showpiece co-created by these 14 to 17-year-olds who designed and sewed all these outfits. The fashion collection is a culmination of a 10-month program by the Kelly Support Group. In it, ethnic minority students learned design and textile techniques from scratch. They are mentored by designers and professionals who help them explore possible career paths.
I always wanted to be a fashion designer. Like, I would draw things, and so this basically became a dream come true because I actually was able to make something out of it.
I haven't been in Hong Kong for a very long time. I've been here for less than 3 years. So I get scared that what if this person doesn't understand me? What if there are no opportunities for ethnic minorities like me? And when this program came, I was so thankful. Now I also know more about what I like and what I am heading towards in the future.
This program has really helped me a lot, like speaking to other people, like spreading my ideas and my creativity.
The program hopes these teenagers could use fashion design as a means to build confidence and better express themselves.
The EM students, they don't have opportunities like the local students. In the very beginning, they are very shy. They don't even want to introduce themselves in the first workshop. But today, in the fashion show, they express themselves. They are very confident to show what they make in their fashions.
This fashion show is not just about empowering ethnic minority youth in Hong Kong, but also about spotlighting the importance of sustainability with the possibility of upcycling dead-stock garments and leftover fabrics like these to recreate fashion pieces. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.